We did slow down in the first half of last year, and we did adjust. We changed management, we brought in additional new sales resource, and the last 2 quarters of last year in Europe were right back on track again. And we see that carrying right through this year. So it was some changes we had to make. The market's there, it's strong, but the changes we've made have worked, and so we're back on track again. The reason we expanded the name like we did to CA Technologies because we think it's better expresses the breadth of who we are now. We're really bringing software technology to the industry across new areas. So to think of us as we were wasn't as big as who we are going forward in the industry. So one of the things that drove that is the fact the industry's changing. The opportunity changes, so we wanted to make a change consistent with that. The second thing is, I think that our management is very stable. The people I have on my team, I will probably add to it, but it's the team that I'm going to run with. And so we'll probably enter some additional folks into that team, but those that are still here are the ones that are going to be the core team for how we're going forward. And I actually have somewhat of a history. I mean, I joined the board in 2005. I became chairman in 2007, executive chairman in 2009, and so there's a bit of more continuity there than it would appear. Now I just took on the role of CEO in January, but I'm very familiar with the company because of my association over the last 5 years.
I've been covering this for almost 20 years. I thought mainframe was dead. I heard that over.
That's right. You've been hearing that for 20 years, right? 30 years. It's not dead. I don't think it's going to die. Do I think it's the fastest growth area? No, it's not. But it's trillions of dollars. It does grow slightly every year, 1% to 2%, but that's off of a very large base. So I think what we're observing now is, when these technologies introduce themselves, they're additive technologies. And the base technologies that were there before remained, but we improve them by adding new technologies to them. I have stopped predicting the end of mainframes. I don't think they're going to go away. We announced a new set of programs called Chorus, where we have, the definition we put on at different times is putting a Macintosh on the mainframe. So that the screen, if you take a look at it on the floor there, is that we've gotten away from the green screen that you talk about in mainframe management, where you're looking at the operating system prompts and trying to respond to those things. But it is actually more than just a user interface too. It now brings together database information about the performance of the mainframe, as we do in the other technologies that we now have, like Microsoft and others, and PowerPoint and Click. And so it also has the ability to learn. So on the mainframe now, when a problem is solved because of a performance issue that had to do with communications lines or servers or files or whatever, that system that we announced is able to remember that. And when it sees it again, it can automatically fix it. It doesn't need an operator intervention. So we've now, for the first time probably in 3 decades, introduced new technology into the mainframe that our beta testing that we're going through with, I think, about a dozen customers has shown 200% and 300% improvement in productivity in the management of the mainframe. So we're taking the industry a step forward on what the mainframe is able to do now. Well, there's 2 things, I think, or maybe even 3. One is that when you look at us, we're in a very fortunate position, even with all the acquisitions we made, with all the cash we need to run the business. We end up with over $1 billion of cash excess after all of that. And we generate another $1.4 billion of cash last year. And so our shareholders, when they look at that, say, what are you going to do with that cash? Are you going to do something maybe foolish, like buy a big company that sometimes isn't useful for companies to do? We want to return it to them in an appropriate way. The second thing, I think, is that it shows our confidence in the stock itself, it's good to buy it now because it's going to be worth more later. So that's another reason we do it. And it's better than having too much excess cash just sitting there on the balance sheet not doing anything for us. So it's a reward to our shareholders as well, because they are the ones that fund us, and if you're sitting there with excess cash, you can give it back to them one or two ways: stock repurchase or dividends. And we've chosen at this point to just do a continuing program of stock repurchase. In a fortunate position. They are trying to contract their IT budgets, but
even today, when we start seeing a
but it's starting to turn back up, number one. Number two is that by investing in our products, it allows them to avoid additional cost because they can utilize what they have better. So when they move into the cloud, when they move into virtualization, they're using a capacity that's already sitting there but unable to be used today. And so we're in a fortunate position. By investing in us, we get the revenue to allow them to take advantage of what was already there, and it avoids additional expense on their side to be able to make this work. So we see the economy coming back. We see IT budgets starting to come back, albeit slowly, but we're getting a better piece of that because of what we're able to help them do across their entire enterprise. We've been primarily a ratable model, had 70-some% of our revenues on the balance sheet when we start the quarter. But as we're introducing new products, some of those products are on a perpetual license now. But then also, as you introduce the on-demand products like Azure Vision and NIMSoft on demand and so on like that, those are on subscription based, so that they, it's on a monthly going forward. So, while our percentage of ratable to perpetual to subscription is changing slightly, it's not big. We won't be in application software. What we do is enable the easy implementation of application software. But no, if you would say, are you going to go to where an SAP or an Oracle are with application? No, that's not a part of our strategy.
Okay.